Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar on machine learning. The objective of today's webinar is to understand what machine learning is, how it works, what are its applications, the various algorithms that help us define the machine learning model, and what are the various tools that can help us to do that. So we have the below agenda for the webinar today. We'll see what machine learning is, what are the use cases of machine learning. We'll try to understand the machine learning framework. We'll look at some of the types of machine learning, some of the algorithms, and some of the tools that are useful for machine learning. Now, machine learning has become a very important concept in today's world. The impact of machine learning, we can get an idea of that through some of the quotes of some of the most influential people in this world. So Bill Gates, who was the chairman of Microsoft, he said that a breakthrough in machine learning would be worth 10 Microsofts. So quotes like this, they tell us that what is the impact machine learning is going to have in the future in all the applications that we use, even in our everyday, day-to-day life, in the various industries that machine learning is now being applied to. But then what exactly is machine learning? So I've taken this screen grab from a very nice video on YouTube. It's by Luis Serrano from Udacity and it's called A Friendly Introduction to Machine Learning. Now if we look at the phrase machine learning, just by looking at the phrase, what do we understand? So it should be something like learning in relation to a machine. So what can be learning in relation to a machine? To understand that, let us look at what is learning in relation to a human. How do we as humans learn? So we learn from experience. So baby who's just born, he's not taught anything. But by observing the behavior of the people around him, he starts to gain an understanding. He develops his thinking gradually that what does that behavior indicate. So if a person is smiling at him, he'll understand gradually that this means a happiness. He also develops an understanding of the timing. So he'll gradually start to know that this is the time to sleep, this is my time for food, and so on. So this is how a human being will gain learning or will develop his learning by experience, by encountering the same situation repeatedly. But can we expect the same from machines or computers? So if a machine is just kept, can a machine learn by observing the behavior of the people around him or behavior of the things around him? Can a machine do that? So no, a machine cannot do that, right? For making a machine perform an action, we need to explicitly write a program and feed that to the machine. So machine doesn't have a thinking or an understanding or an intelligence of its own. It needs to be programmed. It needs to be given clearly a set of instructions that it will follow. But what if we could actually make the machine learn from experience? What if we could actually make the machine learn automatically without being given explicit instructions every time? Here comes the concept of machine learning. Making the machine learn automatically from experience. But what exactly is experience in terms of a machine? Experience for a machine comes from data. So we feed a lot of data to the machine that covers a lot of scenarios, and by observing the behavior of that data, the machine will gradually develop an understanding and it will start to predict based on the behavior of the data that has been fed to it what could be the behavior of in a similar situation. For example, let's say that a junk food restaurant has opened. So it's a fast food restaurant that has opened up and the machine is given a set of data which is a data of let's say 1,000 customers which ranges across the age group. So we have the young customers, we also have the middle level people and we also have the old customers. Now the data that is fed to the machine, the behavior of that data is something like this. that the young people, out of the young people data, almost 80% of them will or prefer fast food or burgers or pizza. So these kind of fast food is preferred by the young people. For the middle level people, it's only around 40 to 45%. For the old people, it's still lesser. So now all the machine only has this data. We haven't asked the machine for any to come to any conclusions. But now, just by looking at this data, the machine forms its own understanding and comes to certain conclusions. Now, there's a new customer that comes in and he is of the young age group, and we ask the machine to predict whether that new customer would like to visit that new fast food restaurant that has opened up in the neighborhood. The machine looks at the data that was fed to it previously. So it has already understood that 80% of the young customers would like to visit that new restaurant. So based on that, it thinks that when 80%, that is the majority of the young customers, would like to visit that restaurant, there is a major probability that this new customer, who also belongs to the young age group, would like to visit that restaurant. So it would give a prediction that it's most likely that this new customer as well would like to visit that new restaurant. This is how machine learning concept is applied. This is what machine learning means. Learning by the machine itself automatically. So it develops a kind of intelligence on its own by observing the data that is fed to it. Now this is only one kind of learning, that's supervised learning, and we'll see that there is unsupervised learning as well. So those are different kinds which we'll see later in the slides. But basically what we need to understand here is that we are making the machine learn in somewhat a similar fashion as humans learn. We humans learn from experience, from observing the situations that are happening every day around us. Machines learn the same by observing the behavior of the data that they have access to. Now, providing this data in today's world is very easy. It's not a difficult task at all. So that's why the machine learning concept has gained more and more popularity, because now we have so much data all around us and so much of data is generated. Access to that data is very easy and also very cheap nowadays. So that's why it's very easy to make machines learn from this data. Now let's see what are the applications of machine learning. So we have been saying machine learning, how do we make the computers learn or the machines learn? But what would we do by making the machines learn? What can they do for us if we make them learn? So some of the common applications, these are the everyday applications. We come across these in our day-to-day life. The email spam detection. Now this is a very common application of machine learning. So now we tell the computer, we give it a lot of data, and it knows that if there is, let's say, a spelling mistake somewhere in the mail or many spelling mistakes, it might indicate spam. It looks for some words in the mail. There are words like cheap or something, something, something. That might mean that it's a spam. Also, it will look at some of the email addresses that we have already identified might be from spam, or they are probably for advertising purposes. So it might detect those as spams. So we write an algorithm and we write the probable causes that to identify a mail as spam. And now the computer itself, we don't need to tell explicitly the machine for every email that comes to it that, okay, these are the words that identify this email as spam. We have just written a generic code or a machine learning algorithm, and now the machine uses its own intelligence based on that, and by observing the behavior of the data that it has already come across, that this mail might be a spam. So what it will do? It will move that mail to the spam folder. So many of the most popular email applications have the spam folder. So it will move that incoming mail to the spam folder. Now what if this machine makes a mistake? That is also a possibility, right? So what does it do now? It might make a mistake. As humans, we too have a tendency to make mistakes, but we learn from our mistakes, and so does the machine. So it makes a mistake. So it has incorrectly moved an incoming mail to the spam folder, whereas we did not want it to be moved. So what will we do? We'll go to the spam folder and mark it as not spam. Now the machine, the next time it encounters the same email, will remember this behavior of ours. And the next time, it will not mark that email as spam. So this is how we can make the machines learn by their mistakes as well. Another very common application of machine learning, the search engine. So we have the Google search engine. There's an autocomplete feature in many applications. So we just start typing and Google will, or search engine, or even in the autocomplete applications, they'll start suggesting the words, the probable words. So we write machine learning and Google starts suggesting, okay, you're probably looking for machine learning course, tutorials, books, etc., etc., etc. So that is also one of the applications of machine learning. Now Netflix. Netflix is a very popular application of machine learning. So it's a recommendation engine. It basically recommends. So we go to Netflix, we watch a movie. First of all, we create a profile for us, and then we have some history of watching movies. So we have watched movies of some kinds, or we prefer movies of some kinds, etc., etc. So the next time we log into Netflix, what it will do is, it will suggest us some of the movies that we might like to view. So it would give suggestions. How does it give these suggestions? It gives these suggestions again by using its machine learning algorithms. So it tries to do a match on the profile that we have. It tries to see, okay, these people have similar profiles and they like these kind of movies. So probably this guy would also like these kind of movies. Also, it will look at a past history. So it will see, okay, in the past, these people have been watching these kind of movies. So probably, based on certain characteristics, it identifies based on the machine learning algorithm that, okay, so these must be I'll recommend these movies, and the person has the most chances of liking these movies. So this happens for YouTube as well. When we go to YouTube based on our profile and on our past browsing record, our locations, and there's so many other parameters that the machine learning algorithm will take into account to make it very sharp and crisp. It suggests us what would be the popular videos or what would be the videos that we might like to view. So based on that, all this is based on machine learning algorithms, and the recommendations can be made. Now, another very interesting feature that has come up nowadays is the face recognition or the image recognition. Now, if you go to Facebook and you tag one of your friends, the next time you have another group photo and the same friend is there in that photo, if you just click on it, try to tag it, Facebook automatically can suggest that which person this face has to be tagged to. So it can identify the person by its face. Now how does this happen? This is very interesting, right? So how does this happen? This happens based on the image recognition techniques. So based on various characteristics of the image, there are various characteristics and features that are taken into account, and now these applications can identify a person just based on his facial characteristics. Another very interesting application that has come up in recent times is the Gmail Smart Reply on Android. So I've been observing this on my iPhone for the last couple of months now, that this feature has come up. So there is a mail that is sent to us, and Gmail automatically suggests the replies that I can send over that email. So how does it do that? Now this is very interesting. It can save me so much time to reply to a message if it's a single word, it's a single action that needs to be done, right? And like typing on mobile it's time consuming sometimes, it's not very comfortable for us. So it's so simple, right? Just click on that button and we are done, right? So how does it do that? For this, it has to be very intelligent. So again, it goes to the text which it goes to secretly, because you cannot be reading anybody's personal email. So there is a this secrecy clause to it as well. So the application goes through the text, it tries to understand what is the context of it, and then it tries to frame 3 replies for it, which are just one sentence replies, small sentence replies, which the application thinks might be the possible replies that we want to send for that email. Now, those were some of the applications that were used by every human nowadays who has a smartphone. We have access, we have seen those applications. Now, it's not just for everyday life. It's used across industries. It has multiple and vast applications across industries. So there is manufacturing sector, the very important and basic application, demand forecasting, right? Then there is retail, market segmentation and targeting, healthcare and life sciences. Now this is gaining a lot of importance nowadays, because it can kind of replace a doctor by just looking at your symptoms and observing the various symptoms and your past history. The computer can actually tell you that what disease you might be having. Okay, a computer totally replaces a human here. Now, it's not 100% perfect, and you'll always need some kind of human intervention. So, probably in the future, we are that 100% successful, and we do not need the human intervention at all. But yeah, it's very successful to a large extent nowadays. So, that's also a very interesting application of machine learning. It can be used for travel and hospitality. Social media is such a big thing nowadays. Facebook, Twitter, everything, everywhere. So many blogs. So a lot of information, a lot of data that makes machine learning very easy to be applied. Then there are financial services, very important. Again, fraud detection, your credit risk rating, all these are very important applications of machine learning. And then there are other applications in other industries as well. Now, what's the machine learning framework like? How do we come to that model that we're talking about? It's very easy to understand, okay, these are the applications, and talk in a broad sense. But how do we write that perfect model? And what if we write a model and it has errors? It is not predicting the right outcomes. Then it's a big loss for the industries. It's a revenue loss. It's money loss for the industries. So what is the machine learning workflow? You have to give lots of data, which covers a lot of scenarios. So the better your data set is, the better the machine learning algorithm is going to work, because it will cover a lot of situations. So it will only have some exceptional situations which are not there, but which can be predicted based on the situations that are there in the data. So whatever kind of data that we are providing, it should complete a wide range of scenarios. And again, this is not very difficult nowadays. Especially if we are getting the data from social media and things, because there's a lot of data nowadays. But the next thing that's very important to understand is that this data might be very easy to get. The data might be available in large volumes in a lot of places, but this data, not all of it, is usable. So we have to make this data usable. There's a lot of incorrect data, there's a lot of invalid data, there's a lot of corrupt data that is there. So data cleaning or data preparation is a very important step here. We have to do data cleaning. We have to make sure that the data is consistent and clean. So there are various, again, it's called integration with the data, and there are various other tools that help us to do that. Once we have the clean data with us, we can write the machine learning algorithm, we can choose a model, we can deploy our model, and we can start predicting the outcomes. But now what happens? We deploy the first set of the machine learning model, and we discover that there are still some errors that this is making. And we want the error margin to decrease all the time to make it perfect. So what needs to be done now? Whatever the errors that machine learning model has in predicting the outcomes, you're going to take those errors back. We're going to create some data scenarios for that. We're going to feed some data. We are going to fine tune our model to consider more parameters probably or features. So we are going to, this is the idea of this is to have it as a repeatable task. You cannot just say that now I have deployed my machine learning model, now it is predicting, so now I am done. No, you're not done. You have done the most part, you've done the major part, but the effort has to be in fine-tuning the model all the time, in decreasing the error margin all the time. Now, what is this machine learning framework? How does it, what is the other way to understand it? Now, machine learning framework, so if you have a programming background, it will be very easy for you to understand, or if you, even if you have a maths background, it's just a function of something. It's a function of the data that we feed through the machine, and it develops an outcome for that. So function based on various, for a function, we write a function in the programming world, we give it some arguments. So we give it some arguments here or some features here, and then it predicts an outcome. So that is what a machine learning is. It's just a prediction function that is given a lot of arguments in terms of the characteristics of the thing, and based on that it makes an outcome or a decision. So it's simply a y equal to f of x function. Y is our output, f is the function that we have, x could be anything. It could be, if it's image detection, it would be an image feature. If it's some other kind of algorithm that we are writing, it would be your input values or the parameters or the arguments. Now machine learning, these are the various types of machine learning. It could be supervised learning, unsupervised learning. Now, super and reinforcement learning, that's learning from the mistakes basically. So supervised learning can again be divided into various algorithms. So there are various algorithms associated with that, classification, regression. These are some like the statistical algorithms. So if you have a stats background, again, you'll be very comfortable with these. Even if you don't have, these are very easy to learn. So you have classification, you have regression algorithms that it applies to predict, make those predictions. Unsupervised learning, clustering is there, dimensionality reduction is there. Then we can see in this chart some of the applications of these algorithms. Now, what is supervised learning now? Supervised learning. We talked about supervised and unsupervised. These are the machine learning types. Let's look at an example. So now what is the problem now for us? What is the problem statement for the computer? We want the computer or the machine to differentiate between an orange and an apple. So what do? We have to make the machine learn, right? So what we ask the machine to do is, or what kind of data we give to the machine, we tell it how to identify an orange. We also tell it how to identify an apple. So now, if any of these fruits is presented to it, it will know whether it's an orange or an apple. So we identify some of the characteristics of the orange, we identify some of the characteristics of apple. So these characteristics of features, as they are said, what are those? We identify the form. Now the form of an orange is round. The color is orange, and we give it the taste. So it should have the taste sensor. So we give it the taste, that's sour. Now for apple, we give the form. Again, the form is round. The color could be red, orange, or green, and the taste is sweet. Now, what we present to the machine is an orange apple. So how will it now identify that what is this new fruit that is presented to it? So now the machine knows that if it sees the form as round, the color is orange, and the taste is sour, the fruit has to be orange. If it sees the form is round, the color as either red, orange, or green, and the taste is sweet, it has to be apple. So it tries to ask these three questions of new food. What is its form? What is its color? What is its taste? The form it sees is round, so that is fine. The color. Now what is the color? The color is orange, okay, round and orange. So till now it could either be orange or it could be apple, because the form for both of them is round. The color for orange is orange. The color for apple is also orange. One of the colors for apple is also orange. So now the deciding factor here is the taste. Now it has a taste. The sensor identifies the taste as sweet. Now this is sweet, so this has to be an apple. So this is actually decision based learning, and it classifies it in based on the features of the label of the item that we are feeding to the machine. So it has a clear demarcation line. It clearly knows that when to identify it as an orange, when to identify as an apple. No confusion there at all. So we know clearly that these are parameters, and we can add this. On this side, we have these parameters. That means it's an orange. On the other side, we have these features, which means it's an apple. So it's a clear demarcation. So this is one of the techniques, algorithms used in machine learning, and it's called classification. Now, what is unsupervised learning now? Now, the machine is simply fed, in this case, with a cluster of fruits. Though they are apples and oranges, we know. So the cluster has apples and oranges, but we have not told the machine that this three characteristics make it an apple, this three characteristics make it an orange. We haven't told the machine anything. We have left the machine to identify and group or differentiate between the fruits on its own. This is unsupervised learning. Now previously we had explicitly taught the machine that these three features means it's an apple. These three features means it's an orange. So we are teaching the machine, we are training the machine. We have given some training data to the machine, and then the machine knows that this is an apple, this is an orange. But here we are not teaching anything to the machine. We are leaving everything to the machine. We are just giving some data to the machine. Okay, so this is your data. Based on this data, make your own identifications, make your own conclusions, make your own observations. So now we have given it a bunch of fruits which are apples and oranges in a cluster. What will the machine do? The machine now can only identify that, okay, it will identify some characteristics on its own, and it will identify that these 10 fruits have similar characteristics. So they must be belonging to one category. These other 10 fruits have some other set of characteristics. So they must be belonging to some other group. So it has now formed two clusters which are separate. It does not know what that cluster means. It does not know that one cluster is apple, one cluster is orange. It doesn't have the names for these clusters. But it has identified or grouped them into group 1 and group 2. So based on the characteristics on its own, it inferred these characteristics are similar, must be one group. These set of characteristics are similar, must be another group, and so on. So this is unsupervised learning, and it's called clustering. Clustering is an algorithm used for unsupervised learning. Now this is another example of clustering where we have some characteristics identified as petal length and petal width. Now this is an iris flower. There are three kinds of flowers. So they have grouped it together. Low petal length, low petal width is Iris centrosa. The medium ones is Iris versicolor. And the other one, the higher one, high petal length, high petal width is Iris virginica. So it is able to cluster them together based on the characteristics. Again, on the example of supervised learning, unsupervised learning. So we have this Facebook tagging now, or any kind of tagging in some other application, the face tag thing. So we have this picture, we tell the machine, this is George Clooney, this is George Clooney. So next time it identifies the same face, it will say this is George Clooney. What is unsupervised learning? We have fed various images to the computer. We haven't given it a name. We haven't told the computer that this face recognizes this person, but on its own the machine learns that, okay, all these faces are similar, so they must be belonging to one person only. So this is unsupervised learning. Now linear regression, if we have a math background, anybody having a math background, we know what is linear regression. It is one of the statistical technique in linear, x and y axis, so we can do some predictions So this is another example. These are the various algorithms that are used in machine learning. So here, that is the reason we need to have some statistical, some math knowledge as well. So we need to understand the concept of machine learning. We need to have some understanding of the statistics. And then we need to know or learn a programming language as well that can be used for machine learning application. So this is basically, we have the size of the house, and based on the size of the house, we know what would be the price of the house based on that size of the house. So the question here for us is, now we have, if the size is 1000, the price is 5 lakh, size is 2000, the price is 15 lakh, size 800, the price is 4 lakh. What will be the price of the house if the size of the house is 1200? How can you figure this out? By linear regression. So we plot the size in feet square on the x-axis, we plot the price on the y-axis, we put our observation points, and then we try to draw a line that is closest or the minimum error margin from all those points. So we don't have a straight, we have a straight line, but all the observation points are not falling on that line, and that's totally fine with us. We have to draw a line which is very close to all these observation points. Then we have a point. Based on that point, we can find out that where, okay, this is my house. Based on this line, I'll try to identify or predict what might be the price of my house. There's another kind of regression, logistic regression. It's not always possible to find out everything. It's not a direct relationship every time. So linear regression is not possible every time. We take the logs of things, we take the squares of the parameters. So this is again one kind of classification technique, logistic regression. Now this is an example of another algorithm that is used for machine learning. It's called a decision tree algorithm. Now, what are my predictors or the arguments that I'm looking at here? And what is my problem statement first of all? My problem statement is that looking at the weather, should I go out and play golf today or not? So how do I decide that? I have some predictor features like the outlook. What's the outlook of the day like? What is the temperature of the day like? What is the humidity and what is the windy? And based on the values of these predictor features, I'll base my outcome or my decision of whether to go out or not today to play golf. Now, it's not a combination of all these values in one way. So we don't need to look at the values. We can go step by step. That is why it's a decision tree. So the very first thing we look at, so there's a hierarchy here, right? The very first parameter that we look at is the outlook. What's the outlook of the day like? So this is the outlook. What is the outlook of the day like? Is it sunny? Is it overcast? Is it rainy? I say it's overcast. It's overcast? Okay, then just go and play golf. So the answer here is yes. If it's overcast, okay, then yes. It's just overcast, go and play golf today. But what if the weather is sunny today? If the weather is sunny, I need to look at some other feature as well. Is it windy as well? Yeah, it is windy as well. So true, then don't go out. The outcome is no, don't go out and play golf today. Similarly, the outlook is rainy. It is rainy, okay, but that's not enough for me to decide whether I should go out and play golf today. So I look at another parameter, and this is another parameter. This is not the same parameter that we looked at when it was sunny. So this is a tree structure or a hierarchical structure. So if it is rainy, I now need to look at what is the humidity like. Is the humidity high? Okay, then I do not go out and play golf today. So this is how your algorithms will be based. There are various algorithms that can be applied to solve the same problem. So you have to understand which algorithm to apply. And there can be multiple that can be applied for the same problem. So we have to figure out which is the best one, which is the most optimized one, which is the best for our context scenario as well. Right? So all these things have to be taken into account. This is another example of the decision tree algorithm. So should we issue loans? The question is, should we issue loan to a person? So the very first thing we are looking at is, what is the salary of that person? Is the salary greater than $60,000? If it is greater than $60,000, then we look at some other features. But if it is not greater than $60,000, then just reject. No, we are not going to give loan to that person. person. But if it is greater than $60,000, then look at some other parameter. Work experience, is it greater than 2 years? It is greater than 2 years. Then we say yes, approved. Okay, we can give the loan to this person. So this is again decision tree algorithm, one of the applications of the decision tree algorithm. Now we have seen in this webinar what machine learning is. Now we have an idea about what machine learning is and how it can be used and where it is used currently, why it is important. But now I want to become a data scientist. How do I become a data scientist? So data scientist is not just machine learning, it's a combination of skills that you must possess, and is taken from the Katie Nugget site. You should have some programming skills, the various languages. The most popular programming languages for machine learning are R, Python, and SAS. Right? R is gaining a lot in popularity these days, and we'll have a next webinar on the R programming. So these are some of the programs that you need to learn, because machine learning is understanding the concept, understanding your business, understanding the algorithm, and then writing a program that suits your needs as per your business and as per the applicability of the algorithm. So it can do predictive modeling, visualizing, and all those things. So you need to also have some understanding of the stats to understand the algorithm well. If you do not have them, no problem. It's not late. You can develop an understanding of the math and the statistics. It might take some time, but it's easy to do. And then you can go ahead and learn the R programming language. You should also have an understanding, some data analysis skills. So you should be able to interpret what might be the predictions, what algorithm must be applied to have the same, have the best predictions, or to make it work best for the industry for which I am making this application. So that comes with time. It also comes with your interest. So if you don't have the live experience right now, you can go to their various sites there, just start reading about data analysis, thinking about it, develop your programming skills, develop your math skills, and you'll be a very good data scientist. These are some of the references that we have used here. And now we are open for the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, you can ask them now and I'll be answering your questions. Before that, do visit us on, do like us on Facebook, do subscribe to us on YouTube, and do enroll for our courses. We have a data science with machine learning, our NSS course, so that will benefit you a lot. Also, we have an upcoming webinar on our programming, so we'll send you the details for that as well. So please go and enroll for that as well. So also, before we go for the Q&A session, there's a brief video on our website. So let's just have it. It's just a few seconds, and then we'll go for the Q&A session.